And thank you for joining us once again for another episode of the Angaza Show. My name is Pastor Tim Mwangi, and today we want to discuss on matters communication. It has been captured that many people have no problem writing their ideas, but when it comes to executing them in terms of expression and talking about them is a big problem. We have many graduates, people with great concepts, but they cannot stand in a boardroom or even stand before an audience and share whatever they feel. And we live in a time and we live in a world where communication is very important. It's so dynamic that even the most celebrated celebrities today, they come from the world of communication. This is the age of media, not necessarily innovation. And this looks like it's a very key component when it comes to how you navigate your life. So we'll be having this conversation on the basic principles and how to work on your communication skills and dynamics immediately. So the topic and the subject of the matter today, we want to delve on effective communication. It is one thing to talk, is another thing to communicate, and it's another thing to pass your, to pass whatever you wanted to say to another person. It is amazing that they say 65% of marriages collapse, not because of lack of connection, but because of wrong communication. And with us is a life coach who's going to guide us in this conversation. So bonus for sana.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Nashukuru.
Maybe we can begin with an introduction, your name and all that.
Yes. My name is Tuesday Njeri Shege, and I am a life coach, and professionally I'm also a HR professional, and I'm glad to be here.
Wow, thank you very much.
Yes.
Asante sana. So let's begin with basic, what is communication?
So communication is the art of sharing information and a message that you want the other person to understand you or your perception. Mm-hmm. So it is a medium where you are sharing information to be understood.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's a difference between talking to each other and talking at each other.
Yes. So you could be talking at each other.
Yes.
Just to be heard, maybe. Yes. So, but if you want to communicate, then there is a receiver and a sender. So you are sending a message, and then the receiver should be able to understand. You remember those days when you used to send, write letters and post in the post office?
Yes.
If there is no receiver, what used to happen? There used to be returned to sender.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Because there is no receiver. So the same way, if you are not clear in how you communicate, the other person will not perceive or understand what it is that you want to communicate.
Okay.
Yes.
What are some of the basic principles for effective communication?
Yes, the very first one is active listening. So active listening is being fully present, 100% listening to what the person is talking about, whether it is a child or your family or at work or a spouse, wherever you are. It's being 100% present in your listening, not multitasking. In these days of multitasking, you have phones, you have many things happening around you. So it's just being able to actively listen to what the person is saying.
So actively listening, that means facial expression, eye contact.
Correct. Yeah.
No, not listening like our African mothers, because an African mother will be doing the dishes.
Yes.
And she's saying, I'm hearing what you're saying. You continue.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yes.
it should be that of in our African culture, sometimes the looking in the face is in the eyes. Sometimes the culture says, okay, you can't look at your elders in the eye. So there has to be a cultural way that you communicate, that the person understands that they got what you said. So active listening is really also, it is you show by the way I'm talking, I can see whether you are perceiving or not. So your body language, your non-verbal communication, like the way you are nodding, so it shows that you are participating actively in the conversation. So that is one, active listening. The other one is empathy. So you listen to the person and understand where they're coming from. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Right? So when you're listening to somebody, you be aware of what is happening. So, for example, this morning during one of my meetings, somebody said that they are feeling much better. Right? Which means they were unwell. So really it's just maybe reflecting that and how are you doing now? How are things? How has it been? So really ensuring that you're engaging with a person with fully and being empathetic, not just rushing through, you know, the conversation, because you really want to direct a message across, right?
I've seen people sometimes when they are talking and someone will say, you know, I lost my mother last year, and someone will pause and say, oh, sorry about that. So is that part of empathy?
Yes, that's part of empathy, because then you were talking and then somebody mentioned something that is hard, you know, in them, for them it's an experience. So in the communication, it's really pausing to really acknowledge that. Yeah, so if that person wants to talk more, they can. And if not, just saying, I'm sorry you lost your mom, right? Sometimes also not saying, I understand, because you don't, right? Just being very civil in trying to say that you acknowledge that somebody has, you know, has mentioned something that is dear to them, and you might want to to address it, or just to acknowledge it. The other one, so there is active listening. Yes.
Then there is empathy.
Yes, there is empathy. So the other one, you need to have emotional intelligence, self-awareness, where you know that I have feelings personally. You have to know and assess your own emotions, right? Because when a conversation is happening, somebody may say something that may upset you. So how do you handle those conversations, right? Because it's a conversation, so you realize, say, maybe your mom has said something that has hit a nerve, right? And you are trying to communicate. So how do you emotionally check yourself so that then you do not, say, overreact on what she has said, so that you manage that conversation to an end that is positive, right? So emotional self-awareness, you're aware that, so if you tell the kids wash the dishes and you keep telling them washing the dishes, and you tell, didn't I tell you, you know, and then so maybe at one time you shout because you're feeling frustrated. So when do you check yourself? So that self-awareness that you need, you know, you're engaging in a conversation that should be heading in a certain direction. And during conversation, there is conflict, there is anger, there are so many emotions. So a good communicator checks their own emotions, knows what triggers them, and takes time to pause and not reflect those emotions to others.
So that means what about if you're having a communication with someone who's not sensitive, and they have no emotional intelligence, and whatever they speak is very hurting?
Yes, so
I came from a background where our parents will speak opposite. They'll leave you in the house and they'll tell you, watoto mkule nyumba mchome. You know. But I'm just giving an example, because there are people who talk and they kind of seem like they don't even care about what you're feeling, and I'm in context of relationship, managerial, and all that. How do you check out you as an individual? Because I believe that's where arguments come.
Yes.
That's where outburst comes, and all those things.
Yes.
How do you balance that?
Yes. You see, communication is a two-way.
Yes.
Right? So it is not that one person and the other. So there is a receiving and receiving and giving, right? So if you receive, so if you feel somebody has been aggressive, right? and they are the way they are communicating. So your own intelligence should tell you, I don't want to go the road they are going, because there are different communication types. There are people who are aggressive, they are passive aggressive, there are people who are, or they are not really wanting to take the direction where you want. So you have to be careful that you are not driven into the argument that that they are saying. So for example, what you said about our parents, or say, okay, I've gone, make sure that you don't cook, or you cook and all that, whatever they say, but they have communicated. It is a way, it's also a language. In a way, they have communicated to you that when I come back here, you know what she actually meant is that that house needs to be clean, you have to have cooked. So in a way, she has communicated, and you have gotten it, isn't it? Yeah.
Is it okay when someone possibly is not sensitive emotionally, is it okay to address them? Like, is it okay if you step on my toe and I tell you, no, I think you didn't address me in a right way? Is it okay to express your emotions while communicating, maybe so that you can neutralize the ground on communication?
Correct. Yes, it is okay, and there is a way to do it and to say it. So how you say it is you're not attacking the person. So it's not saying you are a bad person, the way you speak. So it is really addressing it is that when you said this, it hurt my feelings. It made me feel this way. I hope, please, next time, try not to. Right? In a way, so that person will actually take time to really reflect on what they said, right? Because sometimes you don't think when we are saying things, that's right? So you can say, even if it is your manager, by the way, when you said that, I felt very upset, and I would wish that next time that you could let me know or give me more information, so that then I can be, I can do what you wanted me to do. So yes. So
is there another one in the basic principles?
So the other basic principle is the body language, like we said, So there is the non-verbal, the verbal. So you keep your body language in check. I was reading somewhere from the Harvard Business School that I think 65 to 80% of our communication is through the body language. So
like I'm sitting this way, what am I communicating?
Yes, what are you communicating? So
kama mimi say na communicate.
So there sometimes you're communicating and then that person actually is not listening.
Someone told me when you sit like this, it means you're in charge. And you are responsible. Wewe ndio kusema. And because of that, I want to take a small musical break. I know these are very basic things, but I think they've made people lose great opportunities. Sometimes you go to a boardroom, it's a very basic interview. Your CV looks okay. But the way you are sitting in the body language, umekaa kwa kiti, umeslant. People look at you and they begin to judge and make assumptions of you. Anyway, for those who are watching, we are talking about effective communication skills, both verbal and non-verbal, and how this can also help you in many ways of life. I've just learned something, that indeed there is a whole concept of emotional intelligence. Some of us, the way we speak, inakuanga vile na feel, mtu wangu acha tu niseme vile na feel. And when you look at that, you realize you are not sensitive what you're saying and what the other person receives. Anyway, see you after the musical break. So welcome back and thank you for those who are joining us. My name is Pastor Tim Mwangi. This is the Angaza show, and that's a musical break by DJ Andy C. So we're talking about effective communication skills, and we're just looking at the very basic skills before we even go to the depths of everything. And it is these small things that people ignore that cost them majorly even in life. I was surprised that one of the things that happens when people take positions, like, when you become a president, there's a whole school of government. When these MPs are inaugurated and the senators and governors, they have to be taught some of these schools. Because I was watching a certain clip and they were showing, it was between Israel and the Prime Minister of Israel. They were supposed to shake hands with a certain Prime Minister. And they said, there was a position, and whoever brought his hand first, according to them, was the weak one. So everyone alikuja akasimama, anangoja wenda kwanza, weka mkono ni because whoever goes first looks like you're the weak one. That's why you've agreed on this ceasefire. And I was like, this is just a handshake.
Yes.
I remember even when there was a handshake between the president and you know, the former president and the prime minister, there was a whole communication on, did you see the body language? What do you think the prime minister was communicating? What do you think the president was communicating? Why was the president smiling and the prime minister not smiling? Do you think he was forced into this? And I was looking, I was saying, I didn't see those things, but clearly people captured a lot from just the body language and the communication. And it's a reality that there are many things we communicate without even opening up our mouths.
Correct.
So what is the other basic principle when it comes to effective communication?
So then those are the main ones,
Okay.
for the ones that I have mentioned about active listening, about empathy, about body language, right? And being clear and concise. So when you're speaking, be clear. Don't put a lot of jargon, right? So you want to be heard and you want your message to be received.
Clear and concise.
Clear and concise, but it depends also on your
audience. Ni kama umeguza watu wa Western.
Sema tena?
Ni kama umeguza watu wa Kisumu because
sawa.
Jargons for them is to prove I went to school. You know,
Yes, it depends on what message you want to convey. Remember, it's a receiving. So they are, if they are sending a certain message, then they may want to apply the jargon for whatever purpose. But if you're clearly like in a workspace and you want your staff to understand exactly what they need to do or deliver this week, you need to be very clear and concise, right? Like saying, this week we need to deliver on this, we need this, these are the timelines, these are the deadline, and then ask clarifying questions. So what is it that you did not understand? And then you need to ask those questions so that you know, did I hear you? And then one of the other art is that when somebody speaks, it is important for you to ask questions so to confirm understanding. It's like rephrasing. Like, did I hear you say that we need to achieve the 4 goals within this week? So like rephrasing it so that then you are like, I'm very clear, this is what the person said. And so by the time you leave that table, then you are very clear there. And then, like you mentioned at the beginning, the etiquettes of communication. So different levels, governments and families, each there are etiquettes that have to be followed. Like you said about the greetings, who greets first. So on a world stage, there are things you need to be taught to know, like you don't extend a hand to a king, or you don't do, you know, there are things you need to learn. So those are some, the intelligent and a lot of your own research.
So these etiquettes, I think sometimes they are cultural.
Yes.
Because every continent, every country tend to you know, incline towards certain cultures.
Yes.
Like I think in Nigeria, South Africa, you find people kneeling. You know, sometimes you have a problem as pastors. You go to a place like Nigeria and someone is saying hi to you and he comes and kneels. Because in Kenya, that is worship. But in Kenya, you'll even find a 40-year-old. When he realizes you're a pastor, he will remove his cape and you know, say hi to you.
Exactly.
As a gesture of, you know, respect.
Of respect. Exactly. And so we have in our Kenya culture, for some reason, maybe when you go to the villages, you see it. But I think my view is that we have become too Western. Forgotten a bit of our culture. I remember there was a time we didn't have electricity, and I decided to go somewhere where there was, and there were no chairs. So I decided to sit on the floor. It's like in the gym. So I decided to sit somewhere lower. And some young man came and said, "Mom, you cannot sit there. Have this seat."
Wow.
Right? And he was I think somebody from West Africa. I was very surprised. He said no. He said he cannot share that space with me when I'm seated on the floor.
Were there Kenyans there?
Oh, yes.
And they didn't bother?
No. You see? So, and he will look and see, maybe this is somebody my mom's age. You see, because you're looking, that's still communication, but because he has been taught that respect means you need to do ABCD. So those are some of the things in our communicating. We need to take care of our culture, how we communicate and ensure that we understand and follow what it is.
The etiquettes of communication.
Of communication. Follow how they are done, so that people don't look at you, ametoka wapi huyu, haelewi. This is the way we do things here.
Wow, that's very deep, by the way. I think sometimes we just assume everyone is a Kenyan until you begin to travel and realize, Kenya is just a part of a bigger community.
Exactly.
Globally.
Exactly.
What else should we check out? Some of the things that must not do in communication.
Communications.
Some things that you do these things, you're just killing the whole thing.
Yes.
And nothing will happen.
Yes. So like you said, the body language, there are things you're coming for an interview and remember the body language, and you've come not dressed like you want to come for an interview, and or maybe you've just assumed that the job is yours, so you've not done any preparations, and so there are some things you need to do your homework. For communication, you need to do your homework. If you're going, do your homework, do your research, be prepared, right? And don't assume. Sometimes we speak. When you are speaking, the other person is thinking of what to say. Okay. Yeah. So it's just important to not assume that you heard, and if you are not sure, ask. Ask those questions. Did I hear you say this? And remember, as we said, culturally, there are things I might say and somebody else may say, what did you say? Like, for example, from our Indian culture, when they are saying yes, they do this.
Oh, those are Indians?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like when they shake their head. But for us, ndio. Right? Okay. So if you look at the culture, so be also mindful of the culture of the other person you're communicating with, because what they are saying it could mean different things. Or just be careful not to use those body language that if you're not in the similar culture. Yeah.
What are the other things that we need to check out?
As I said, it's just to be prepared and to be confident. Yeah, so check your feelings, be self-aware, and listen to understand. Don't listen to
Let's come to the oratory skills, because again, you can have all these components, but when you open your mouth, you're not saying anything. How can you improve your oratory skills?
Yes, you can practice the speaking. Remember also the tone. You have to be careful about your tone, because you could be saying something else and your tone is saying something else. So be careful and be mindful that you're conveying the message. So
someone said sometimes it's not what you've said, but it is how you said it.
Yes.
That's where the tone comes in.
That's where the tone comes in. Yeah, so be careful about your tone. And
because I was told there are people, kuna mtu anaweza kutukana na usmile, ukifika home ndo realize na ujamaa alinitukana.
Ukuelewa, alisema na in a way that
there's a man who said if you're hanging around with 9 fools, they are not 9, they are 10. And you see,
includes you.
So he didn't call you a fool directly, but ukifika home ndo nasema but then no mzee alitamjinga. But the way he put it, it was also in a civilized way.
Yes.
So the tone variation.
The tone. So and you've prepared, you have your points, you have everything. So be careful, and also your body language. So are you a person who is being, if you check yourself, if you know you're very authoritative, and you want to convey, you want people to listen to you, put a posture that will be a bit in a way that people are not feeling threatened, right? So ensure that you are not threatening them. So pose in a way that gives them the space, or give them also space to ask questions. But be clear, do your research. Sometimes this media situation, people are not doing their research. So TikTok is not somewhere you can go for research, right? Do good studies about, I do a lot of interviews, and you will see people coming for interviews without preparation.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe they have used AI, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and we've had that situation a lot, because then that person tells me that they are not confident in who they are.
But AI is a game changer.
It is, for sure it is. It can be used for our advantage, but it shouldn't be used to your disadvantage. So AI, when you are employed, will not come and do the work for you.
So in short, nasema AI isitubebe akili.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, utumi na usiende uandike copy and paste. Yes, lazima there has to be some authenticity of what you wanted to convey. So you are using it as a tool to support you, to communicate better, to be clear, and all that. But then it shouldn't take up who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's a conversation that has just begun. I believe communication is something that is deep and very wide, but these very basic things are key, even to launch you out. Wherever space you get into, remember how you talk is beyond your words. Even your body speaks. That means even your silence can also be quoted or misquoted. Anyway, as you know, communication is it's a very serious demand, especially in our day-to-day. When we look at what we call the 4 civilizations of the globe, we moved from the mechanical civilization, came to the electrical, came to the computer age, and finally now we are in the AI. And the 2 generations are 100% communication. We are no longer innovating things. We're in a generation where men are communicating about the existence of whatever has already been innovated. The biggest spaces and the most marketable and the most profitable spaces, they have everything to do with communication. Look at Facebook, look at TikTok. These are the producers of the latest billionaires and millionaires in dollars. That is to tell you, we are in the age of communication. And the relevance of a man can only be when he masters the art and the skills of communication. It's a mystery that in school communication is taught as a basic life skill. That means you cannot survive without communication. And in communication, we still have both the verbal and the non-verbal. Even in your silence, you're still talking. So that doesn't mean that when you keep quiet, you're not talking. But the mystery is, someone wrote and said, the original intention of words was not communication, but creation. So biblically, when we come to communication, it's out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. And the reality of life is that whatever a man professes and confesses, he has the ability to possess it. You need to audit your words, because them that love the tongue shall eat of its fruit. Therefore, feed your mind with what is right. A man wrote and said, use what is in your pocket to put something in your head. And one day what is in your head will put something in your pocket. But above all, what is in your head will begin to control your utterance. Remember, shut mouth is a shut destiny. Even witches can never get their work when they cannot talk. Altars responds to utterances. My name is Pastor Tim Mwangi, and this is the Crossroads segment. Anyway, till next Saturday, have a blessed day. The guys behind the camera, the producers, and the management of KBC, thank you for always giving us this opportunity. Bye-bye.